Liza binti Muhammad. Can call me Liza. ID is 2019467004. Okay, I will present about South Asia, little bit about introductions and history and cultures, more to pre-colonial cultures and the sub-regions, that is India.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Abdul Qayyum Hakim Jafar. My number ID is 2019-661768. And our group will be presenting about Region 5, that is South Asia. Enjoy.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name Azza Azwima Anwar. My ID number 2019545913. I will present for subject IBM 537 for group presentation, Region 5, South Asia.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Liza. Okay, in this video we will explain more about South Asia. Can we said a little bit about introductions and several types of climates. They have monsoons, dry and subtropical humid climates. And next, what are the environmental problems experienced by these regions? For example, natural hazards and human-induced such as air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution, as well as the histories and culture by their peoples. And lastly, what sub-regions in the South Asia. So, stay tuned, watch this video until the end. Let me start right now. This is a world map. In this map, where do you live? That's not the problem. The question is, where is South Asia? Let me show in this red circle. That is South Asia region in line at the topic that will be discussed in this video. Let me show you more closely.
The map shows how the Himalayas form the northern boundary of South Asia and are separated from the plateaus of southern India by the Indus, Ganges and Brahmaputra River Valley. The South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation (SAARC) contiguous block of countries that started in 1985 with 7 countries. That is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, and admit Afghanistan as an 8 members in 2007. China and Myanmar have also applied for the status of full members of SAARC. The Association Free Trade Agreement admit Afghanistan in 2011. Parts about South Asia, which South Asia consists of the land from the Himalayan peak to the Indian Oceans, the part of Asia often referred to as the Indian subcontinent. The region is home to 1.5 billion, which the total that may rise to nearly 2 billion by 2025, more than any other world regions, and yet it is the smallest world regions. A varied and often tumultuous history of interactions with natural environments and inviting peoples left the regions with a common culture, interacting increasingly with global influence, but with uneven political, social, and economic geographies. The materials and cultural wealth of the regions wide with that of China and later Europe. The region is hemmed in by the northern mountain walls. It is dominated by the Great Plains of the Indus, Ganges, and Brahmaputra River. Wave of peoples entered first through the northern mountains, passed to access the rich plains, and later invaders came from the oceans, including the Muslims from AD 1100 and the Europeans from AD 1500. Each left its marks on the lands, peoples, and cultures. Today, this region comprising India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and mountain and island rims countries interact with the rest of the world from a base of complex traditions and profound ideas and values. Okay, how about the present? India's media industry illustrates how peoples with such ancient culture responds to modern globalizations. By the 1990s, satellite delivery of TV programs enabled the globalizing media moguls to replace the single channels Indian government programs and provide a diet of US and Western film, soap operas and sport, mainly in language spoken by fewer than half the total populations. In response, new Indian TV stations such as ZTV, mainly Indian emphasis, and now provide program in 15 languages. The Indian movie industry, which already produce more films than the US industry, diversify into TV soap opera with Indian scenes. The new range of TV channels are consumerist, focusing on Indian interest group and especially the large number of young adults. Soap operas deal with issue of local concerns such as violence against females. One result of the wider media coverage is to encourage a pan-Indian awareness within an extremely diverse country and increase confidence in being Indian in a West-dominated world.
Okay, there's a little bit introductions about South Asia and the past and present. Let's go to the next subtopic. I'm leaving it to my team members from Mars. I'm Liza. See you on after. Bye-bye.
For point number 2 is climate. Climate we have 3. First is monsoon climate, second is dry climate, and third is subtropical humid climate. Monsoon climate is a winter season of the dry monsoon Himalayan mountain cast of South Asia from Central Asia and is freezing air. Mean temperature above 18 Celsius in every month of the year. Northern Sri Lanka and southern India are the only place that receive rain in winter from winds that blow from the Bay of Bengal. White monsoon breaks in early June or July. And 2.2 is dry climate, starting from mid-April and peaking in May and early June with high temperatures often exceeding 40 Celsius. Extremely dry and have dust storm. Monsoon rains means most of the northwestern part including Pakistan and Afghanistan. River, Indus and tributaries were their primary source of water. Northwestern part of South Asia remains dry throughout the year, which form arid region, Delta Desert. As you can see in this picture, show dry climate in Balochistan, Pakistan. Or 2.3 is subtropical humid climate. A humid subtropical climate is a zone of climate characterized by hot and humid summers and cool to mild winters. This climate normally lies on the southeast side of all continents. Though they experience hot summers, temperature during the coldest months may fall as low as 0 Celsius, that is 32 Fahrenheit. For example, Uttar Pradesh, Assam Hills.
Number 3, environmental problem. There is 2. First, natural hazard and human induced. For natural hazard, first is flooding. Flooding is a major problem in Ganges and Brahmaputra Valley, especially over their combined delta. Peak flood on 1998 to 2007 affect over 30 million people. Increased flooding level result from induced. For natural hazard, first is flooding. Flooding is a major problem in Ganges and Brahmaputra Valley, especially over their combined delta. Peak flood on 1998 to 2007 affect over 30 million people. Increased flooding level result from deforestation in the upper reach of the river and their tributaries in India, Nepal and Tibet. Second draft. Water shortage raises major social issues in both urban and rural areas of India. The urban middle class can install storage tanks against times of shortage. The village upper class use in India, Nepal and Tibet. Second draft. Water shortage raises major social issues in both urban and rural areas of India. The urban middle class can install storage tanks against times of shortage. The village upper class use good wells, meanwhile the untouchable have to find their water elsewhere. And third is global warming. Maldives Island and Ganges Brahmaputra Delta, which is only a few feet above sea level, will experience flooding by rising of the ocean. Many low-lying islands have already been flooded. Good wells, meanwhile the untouchable have to find their water elsewhere. And third is global warming. Maldives Island and Ganges Brahmaputra Delta, which is only a few feet above sea level, will experience flooding by rising of the ocean. Many low-lying islands have already been flooded in the Sundarbans, displacing thousands of people. Temperature is rising on the Tibetan Plateau, triggering the retreat of Himalayan glacier. Second is human use. First is air pollution. The making of herbicide and pesticide use in Green Revolution resulted on the Tibetan Plateau, triggering the retreat of Himalayan glacier. Second is human-induced. First is air pollution. The making of herbicide and pesticide use in Green Revolution result in dangerous concentration of chemical factories. Second is human-induced. First is air pollution. The making of herbicide and pesticide use in Green Revolution result in dangerous concentration of chemical factories. It increased the damage of Taj Mahal because of air pollution led to closure of metal workshop in the surrounding area to reduce the sulfurous gas that damage marble and limestone. The agglomeration of industrial development nodes of Mumbai and Delhi produce massive air pollution that destroy farming livelihoods and makes winters much worse. Second, water pollution. Heavily polluted effluent from concentration of leather tanning works enter the Ganges River close to the north of Mumbai and Delhi produce massive air pollution that destroy farming livelihoods and makes winters much worse. Second, water pollution. Heavily polluted effluent from concentration of leather tanning works enter the Ganges River close to some of the main Hindu ritual bathing sites. Trash dumping in the Ganges combined with funeral pyres along its bank further worsens the water quality. The environmental problem associated with water-based irrigation and hydropower projects occur the source and downstream use area. Ganges River floods are reduced, but dry season flow is much lower. In areas using irrigation, poor management results in watering of fields where the terrain of subsurface conditions are unstable. Here is example of reversal of dumping ground for sewage, solid and season flow is much lower. In areas using irrigation, poor management results in watering of fields where the terrain of subsurface conditions are unstable. Here is example of reverse of dumping ground for sewage, solid and liquid waste in Tamil Nadu, India. Third is land pollution. In areas where there water irrigation, poor management result the soil become waterlogged or saline. Tube wells have been increased since 1960s. It's lower their water table, which cause smaller farms to be cut off as they can't afford deep well. The accelerated use of chemical fertilizer and biocide in agriculture is the major cause of soil pollution. Biocide first kill germs and unwanted plant and then degrade the quality of soil.
Hi, thank you for still watching. I'm Liza. Now we have another mini subtopic that is about histories and culture in South Asia. Let's go!
Among the regions of the world, South Asia is one of the regions that famous with its multiculturalism. The history of South Asia is marked by the attempt to unify the people of the subcontinent and protect them from the external invader. A strong social culture developed and has survived many political and economic changes, so that political attitude culture become a strength because difference of culture, including gender issues, which emerge from religious allegiances. Pre-colonial cultures. Colonization is another phenomenon that has had enormous consequences of the cultures and societies of Asia in the modern periods. For example, during the long 19th century, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam were colonized by French. The so-called Indian subcontinent was under British rule, and today's Indonesia became a Dutch colony known as the Dutch East Indies. But not unlike the Soviet situations in Central and North Asia, the European powers in colonial South and Southeast Asia exploited resources and detected what was produced, how it got produced, and for what purpose. Colonial powers is also invested in learning and recovering local histories, which in turn strengthened the identity and self-image of colonial art of some 20th century artists. For example, in India, the Swadeshi movement encouraged artists to envision non-Westerns. Actually, not much can be obtained about the earliest events in the evolutions of South Asian societies. The Dravidian peoples of southern India are thought to be the modern descendants of the old inhabitants of the regions. It was believed at one time that Dravidians were the original inhabitants of India. That view has since been considered modified. Now, the generally accepted belief is that the pre-Dravidian aborigines, that is, the ancestor of the present tribals or Adivasis, were the original inhabitants. By 3000 BC, the Dravidians most likely established irrigation farming in the Indus Valley. This is archaeological remains of the ancient city of Mohenjo-daro left by the Dravidians. They left ruins of cities and irrigation works, but their written heritage was only a small number of sites, which have not been translated. Okay, let's see first about Hindus and Eid cars. By 1500 BC, but possibly many years earlier, later Scythians and taller Indo-Aryan people invaded through the northwestern pass and drove Dravidians southward into the Indian peninsula. As a result of Aryan influence, Hinduism crystallized in the Indus River Valley around 1200 BC. The Aryan brought together traditions mixed and got to form Hinduism as an inclusive nationalistic religion based on the Sanskrit Vedas 1500 to 1000 BC, which ranked among the world's greatest religious literature. Hinduism can most accurately be described as the religion of the peoples. This makes it an ethnic religion that people are born into. Today, nearly all of the world's 800 million Hindus live in India. Hinduism is not a centrally organized religion with a single sacred text, but has a series of Greek traditions as set out by religious experts and little traditions about local gods' belief and practice. Hinduism recognizes millions of gods, although local groups often regard as one dominant and incorporate belief of reincarnations. More than 80% of the Indian population is classified as Hindu, or even many, particularly in rural areas, do not recognize that Hinduism is the title given to their local devotions. It is their way of life. Hinduism is not totally confined to India. Mission took it to Southeast Asia 2000 years ago, and the modern Hare Krishna groups recruit worldwide. Even caste is a Hindu concept. It may have permeated all South Asian society before the arrival of the Aryans and was adopted by later invading groups. The caste order is similar to ethnic or class divisions as well. Aryan imposed social grouping, which is on the top is conquered by the Brahmin, who decided the other groups such as Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. Those who are the non-Aryans were the lowest caste and were called Shudras and Dalits. The religious base of the major caste divisions was paralleled by the common interest of a group of people who work in similar craft industries of roughly equal status. These economic and social divisions are thought to have evolved from tribal kinship groups into specialist feudal rules. Memberships became hereditary based on intermarriage within the groups. Births determine status in societies. The questions of untouchability strike many hearts towards the Indian caste systems. The word itself is avoided as insensitive, but it is still used in anger to make others recognize the existence of the extremely poor and rejected. They have similar physical features to Hindu Indians and may include many who were rejected or were not absorbed by Hindu groups. Dalits have long questioned their social positions with rebellions since the 1800s. In the typical South Asian village of the past, landowners, tillers, carpenters, porters, barbers, brides, and other groups worked within the local hierarchies for the common goods. As you can see, this is the level of caste. The caste system divides Hindus into four main categories: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and the Shudras. Many believe that the groups originate from the Brahma, the Hindus' god of creation. Buddhism and Jainism. Increasing urbanizations of India and possibly the spread of urban disease contribute to the rise of ascetic movements and of new ideas which challenge the orthodox Brahmanisms. These ideas lead to Shramana movements, of which Mahavira, proponents of Jainism, and Buddha, founder of Buddhism, were the most prominent icons. Buddhism and Jainism were founded in the Ganges River Valley in the 500 BC in reaction to aspect of Hinduism. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, began life as a Hindu. A major early attraction of his teaching was the rejection of the millions of Hindu gods. Buddha also questioned the rigid caste systems and believed in the possibility of greater social mobility. When the Mauryan Empire expanded to incorporate most of the Indian subcontinent from 321 to 181 BC, its most celebrated emperor, Asoka, adopted Buddhism and propagated the Dharma policy, a code of conduct focusing on social responsibility, human dignity, and social religious harmony. After Asoka's death, weak successes allowed the empire to fall apart. Brahman Hinduism took over, envisaging a country as a divine creation rather than a Buddhist concept of a contract between a ruler and people to control the chaotic and demoralizing effects of mortal possessions. The renewed dominance of Hinduism forced Buddhists to move out of the Indian mainland, converting much of Sri Lanka and spreading their faith eastwards and northward into Southeast and East Asia. Jainism followed a non-violent code that was later taken up by Mahatma Gandhi in his early 1900s campaign for India's independence from the British. Jainism is religions from India that teach the way to freedoms and enjoyments is to live off harmlessness. Forbidden to farm and kill worms and insects, Jains became an exclusive group. Many Jainism in the Mumbai area, which consists of wealthy traders. They make up a small proportion of the Indian population, but includes over the 3 million people. Invasion kept historical Indian societies in a state of flux, especially in the northern plains, where a mosaic of distinctive peoples, landscapes, and anarchic governments resulted. For example, the short-lived invasions by the great Alexander the Great in 326 BC, at the end of his conquest in Western and Central Asia, left behind military and legal influence. The Gupta Empire from AD 319 to 950 brought peace, economic growth, and a new flowering of art, music, and literature. Over the next 600 years, invading Mongol groups, Muslims and Turks were unable to establish lasting or total rules. After Muslims invaded the north in the 1100s, they pushed southward from the Indus and Ganges plains. However, it was not until the 1500s that the Mughal dynasty extended Muslim belief to the rest of the regions. The Mughals were Persian Turks leagued by Babar, a descendant of the Mongols. After the Mughals, India experienced development in such fields as art and architecture. The Taj Mahal and many examples of other Mughal buildings constructed in the 1600s survived throughout the regions. Sikhism emerged in the early 1500s as one of several responses by some Hindus in the Punjab to the Mughal dynasties. The religious movement later resisted absorption into mainline Hinduism. Sikhism is marked by a strict code of conduct and many temples that have kitchens providing food for all. The Golden Temple at Amritsar is the holiest temple. Construction by Guru Arjan Singh in the late 1500, it contained the Sikh scriptures that he compiled. Although few in numbers, many Sikhs became wealthy from their bamboo crops in Punjab and lobbied from a separate state or even an independent country. This is a historic building which is at the entrance to the mausoleums of Akbar, the greatest of the Mughal emperor, in the Indian cities near Agra. Mountain isolations and island openness placed along the mountainous northern margin of the regions, the present countries of Afghanistan, Nepal, and Bhutan. Mixed isolation with occasional instructions of wider influence. Tribes in the Himalayas established their own way of living, but Nepal and Bhutan were occasionally invaded from Tibet. The area that is now Afghanistan became a mountain refuge for many ethnic groups. The Pashtun formed the majority in the southern parts, but Tajiks and Kyrgyz people dominate the north. In medieval times, Herat near the present Iranian border was home to a fusion of Buddhist and Persian cultures that left buildings and statues. Modern Sri Lanka salient closeness to the Indian peninsula and its openness to ocean-borne trade and conquest attract competing groups. Indo-Aryan peoples with a Buddhist belief from northern India developed civilizations based on irrigated rice agriculture in the north center of the islands that lasts from around 100 BC to the AD 1200s. During the latter part of this period, Tamils, Dravidian peoples from southern India established kingdoms in northern Sri Lanka based around Jaffna. As Tamil expanded their influence, the majority Sinhalese people drifted southwards, abandoning the irrigation systems and relying on rain-fed agriculture. They grew spices such as cinnamons. Arab trade settled in the country and controlled the overseas spice trade. The growing Arab-Muslim control of medieval Indian Ocean trade routes include the Maldives Islands, which stretch southward into the Indian Oceans. Chinese and Arab merchants set up trading posts there to exchange their goods for local fish, coconut, and shells. The islands became solidly Muslim by the AD 1100s and remain so. As you can see, these maps of around the Afghanistan, the complexity of ethnic groups and their links across the political borders is a major factor in the difficulties of governing these countries. Okay, that's all. I'm leaving it to my friends for the next. See you on the next topic.
Okay, for 4.2 is colonial impact. Colonial impact we have four. First is trading expansion. Second is British Indian Empire. 3 is Ceylon and the Maldives. 4 is Afghanistan. For trading expansion for first point is the great wealth of this region built on internal gem and metal deposit, and also on external trading linked to Africa, Arab and ASEAN lands, become a goal for European adventures in the pace of mercantile expansion from the mid 1400. Searching for an alternative routes to get inner product and riches to Europe without traveling through the increasingly hostile Muslim countries of southwestern Asia, the Europeans arrived by sea and found few defenses. In 1498, the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama reached India after sailing around southernmost Africa. Okay, trading expansion point 2. In 1500 century, the Portuguese and Dutch established trading stations such as Goa, often based on previous port. In 1600, the Dutch forced the British East India Company out of the East Indies. The British switched to India, took the Portuguese port of Bombay, built new port of Madras, and began trading with the most popular area of Bengal around modern Calcutta, become the company main center. The British East India Company took the Portuguese port of Bombay, Good Bay, now Mumbai, built a new port at Madras, Chennai, and began trading with the most populous area of Bengal around modern Kolkata. Okay, for trading expansion number 3 is in 1700, political chaos caused by internal fracture in the Mughal Empire splintered South Asia into small and large kingdoms, often ruled by Muslim or Hindu leaders who styled themselves as Maharajas or princes. The French contested British control but were defeated. Over the new 100 years, the British East India Company, backed by the British India Army that employed Indians as foot soldiers or sepoys, increased its hold on South Asia, taking strong position in Bengal and the peninsula. Many of the company become director of an employee, became extremely rich and honored back in England. As we can see here, in South Asia, the British Indian Empire before independence in 1947 maps PG 286. Okay, for British Indian Empire is for point number 1 is in 1857 the first independence war led by British government to take full political control of South Asia. British established the British Indian Empire, often referred to as the British Raj. 40% of the area, with almost 1/4 of total population, remained under independent princely family government, who order matter in harmony with British policies. The 600 princely state ranged from Hyderabad with 14 million people in 1947 to Jatiama with only 200. India, through Western education, new technology, public works and new system of law, benefit both ways. For British Indian Empire, point number 2 is British redirected India farms to produce raw material for British industry. The Indian textile industry was suppressed in favor of British cotton goods. The British Indian Army became tools of attempted imperial expansion into Afghanistan and Burma in 1880s and into Tibet in 1903 to 1904. Britain established Afghanistan as a separate country. In 1850, Nepal had close relationship with Britain, served in the British Indian Army. British attack in the 1800s. Nepal remained independent under pro-British ruler who hired Gurkha soldiers to British. British imperial rule had massive effect on geography of the peninsula. Okay, for British Indian Empire, for point number 3 is mercantile economy focused on primary product to export to Europe. British engineer irrigated land in the Indus and Upper Ganges river basins to produce cotton for exports, built railroads from the main ports to move troops and export. Ceylon and Maldives. Okay, for the first point of Ceylon and Maldives is Ceylon and Maldives were also incorporated into the world economic system that focus on the demands of the colonizing country and other wealthier market rather than on local needs. In Ceylon, the Portuguese and Dutch had been the early traders on colonies. In 1795, British took Ceylon, which remained a crown colony until its 1947 independence. British companies set up plantations for growing tea, rubber and coconut instead of traditional spices. Ceylon and the Maldives. For point number 2, Indian Tamil labor was brought into work on plantations, increasing local ethnic tensions. Better education in Christian school in the north enabled the Tamils to take most of the colonial clerical jobs. A Western educated elite of local plantation owner attempted to emulate the social life of the colonials. The emphasis on export crops, however, was accompanied by the neglect of traditional agriculture, leading to a decline in the rice crop and a need to import half the island's food needs. And for the last point is Afghanistan. Okay, Afghanistan, after a century of attempted dominance over the northwest frontier area of India, the British created the country of Afghanistan in the late 1800s. The northern border, defined at the time, established a limit or buffer to Russian expansion. King Abdul Rahman in 1880s to 1901, backed by the British money and weapons, tried to create the basis of a centralized Afghanistan. His and later attempts to build and unify the new country were often ruthless, resented by the intensely independent group, and generally unsuccessful.
4.3 Part 2 Independence. First, the origin of India and Pakistan. Second, Ceylon becomes Sri Lanka. The origin of India and Pakistan. The extension of British rule during the late 18th create an awareness of an emerging national identity across the subcontinent. On 1885, combination of culture, background and personal interest led a mainly Hindu elite to form the Indian National Congress. First, the origin of India and Pakistan. Second, Ceylon becomes Sri Lanka. The origin of India and Pakistan. The extension of British rule during the and awareness of an emerging national identity across the subcontinent. On 1885, combination of culture, background and personal interest led a mainly Hindu elite to form the Indian National Congress Party. Had a secular and multicultural with the aim of an inclusive India, and in which Hindus were majority but coincide with Muslims. The origin of India and Pakistan. The extension of British rule during the late 18th create an awareness of an emerging national identity across the subcontinent. On 1885, combination of culture, background and personal interest led a mainly Hindu elite to form the Indian National Congress Party. Had a secular and multicultural basis with the aim of an inclusive India, and in which Hindus were majority but coincide with Muslims, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Christians, Jews and others. Leaders of the Muslim population, the largest minority, they formed Muslim League in 1906, aimed to promote Muslim interests in British India. On September 11, 2001, attack on Afghanistan proved to light many linkage of cooperation and conflict across set of countries. Long-lasting dispute between India and Pakistan over Kashmir province at the northern of their common border. Early 2002, India and Pakistan were drawing military force to the border and war looked possible. War on terrorism caused the Pakistan 06 aimed to promote Muslim interests in British India. On September 11, 2001, attack on Afghanistan proved to light many linkage of cooperation and conflict across set of countries. Long-lasting dispute between India and Pakistan over Kashmir province at the northern of their common border. Early 2002, India and Pakistan were drawing military force to the border and war looked possible. War on terrorism caused the Pakistan government to hold back and even repudiate group of Islamic radical had support and trained for many years. Kashmir related to the surrounding countries. Nature of the countries, including those surrounding, often conflicting cultural belief and political aims in very significant. Influence of external pressure, pertinent after September 11 and its aftermath. It is increasingly difficult for any country to operate without reference to other. In mid-18, the British sold the ruler hold back and even repudiate group of Islamic radical had support and trained for many years. Kashmir related to the surrounding countries. Nature of the countries, including those surrounding, often conflicting central belief and political very significant. Influence of external pressure, pertinent after September 11 and its aftermath. It is increasingly difficult for any country to operate without reference to other. In mid-18, the British sold the rulership of the Muslim state of Kashmir to a Hindu Maharaja for 50 million at today's price. 1947, Kashmir be part of India. Avoid join India or Pakistan, but he chose India in return for military help. On 1948, ceasefire, Pakistan held on to the 1/3 in Conquer. Kashmir Prime Minister preferred India's secular socialism to the Muslim ideology of Pakistan. At first, Maharaja who had Kashmir to a Hindu Maharaja for 50 million at today's price. 1947, Kashmir be part of India. Avoid join India or Pakistan, but he chose India in return for military help. On 1948, ceasefire, Pakistan held on to the 1/3 in Conquer. Kashmir Prime Minister preferred India's secular socialism to the Muslim ideology of Pakistan. At first, Maharaja who handed over control of only defense, foreign affairs, the communication to India, leaving Kashmir with its own Prime Minister until 1965. In 1964, India extended to Kashmir the right of the federal government to dismiss the government. Throughout the popular will Kashmiris, India and Pakistan fought over Kashmir in 1965 to 1966, when India accused Pakistan of backing insurgents. In 1971, Bangladesh became independent, backed by India. Kashmir was another source of fighting in that war. Foreign affairs, the communication to India, leaving Kashmir with its own Prime Minister until 1965. In 1964, India extended to Kashmir the right of the federal government to dismiss the government. Throughout the popular will Kashmiris, India and Pakistan fought over Kashmir in 1965 to 1966, when India accused Pakistan of backing insurgents. In 1971, Bangladesh became independent, backed by India. Kashmir was another source of fighting in that war. In 1972, similar agreement divided Kashmir into Pakistan state of Kashmir and the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. Free Jammu Kashmir election in 1977 that brought back Sheikh Abdullah collapsed with the ousting of his son from power in 1984. Pakistan should be all ours. India took it unfairly. India will assume control to Kashmir after a request by the Hindu Maharaja following a Pakistani invasion. Kashmiris, we prefer independence to either. 1972, similar agreement divided Kashmir into Pakistan state of Kashmir and the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. Free Jammu Kashmir election in 1977 that brought back Sheikh Abdullah collapsed with the ousting of his son from power in 1984. Pakistan should be all ours. India took it unfairly. India will assume control to Kashmir after a request by the Hindu Maharaja following a Pakistani invasion. Kashmiris with independence to either secular India rule or Islamic Pakistani rule. India and Pakistan, Kashmir independence is not feasible or offered by either country. India, Pakistan trained terrorists to disrupt society in Kashmir. Pakistan, those who resist India domination within Kashmir are local tribespeople fighting for their right of self-determination. India, Pakistan held on to the third of Kashmir despite the United Nations ruling that a referendum should decide Kashmir future. Kashmir independence is not feasible or offered by either country. India, Pakistan trained terrorists to disrupt society in Kashmir. Pakistan, those who resist India domination within Kashmir are local tribespeople fighting for their right of self-determination. India, Pakistan held on to the third of Kashmir despite the United Nations ruling that a referendum should decide Kashmir future. For Pakistan, India delayed a referendum for no good reason except it knows it will lose. It even announced the 1977 election that would have indicated support for Pakistani control of Kashmir. Kashmiris feel that we live in a prison under Indian military guard and do not like the alternative of Pakistan military dictatorship control. If we take part in election, India will declare we are their citizen, and we have little confidence that India will moderate high-handed attitude. The Kashmiris would prefer a democratic constitution. 1977 election that would have indicated support for Pakistani control of Kashmir. Kashmiris, we feel that we live in a prison under Indian military guard and do not like the alternative of Pakistan military dictatorship control. If election, India will declare we are their citizen, and we have little confidence that India will moderate high-handed attitude. The Kashmiris would prefer a democratic constitution and have already experienced good result of India provision. Pakistan, the years of Indian separation makes the people feel that we are friendlier. India, after September 11, 2001, Pakistan sent terrorists into India and nearly participate in war. The government is against terrorism and did not send those who attacked the India Parliament in Delhi. We demonstrate this by withdrawing support for the Afghan Taliban against the wish of many Pakistanis. Experienced good result of India provision. Pakistan, the years of Indian separation makes the people feel that we are friendlier. India, after September 11, 2001, Pakistan sent terrorists into India and nearly participate in war. The government is against terrorism and did not send those who attacked the India Parliament in Delhi. We demonstrate this by withdrawing support for the Afghan Taliban against the wish of many Pakistanis. And become Sri Lanka. The majority Buddhists in Ceylon pressed for independence early in 1990s. Ethnic difference and resentment surfaced before the independence in 1948. Buddhist revivalism among the Sinhalese alert nation to the need to preserve their separate identity. Tensions were increased by the dominance of Singaland nationalists in the new government and their change of the country name to Sri Lanka.
Hello everyone, we meet again in the last subtopic, that is sub-regions. I'm Lisa, thank you for still watching. Now we are almost to the end of the video, so we like to finish it.
This is a sub-region in South Asia, as I told you at the beginning of this video. A new diversity within the South Asia emerged in separate countries following the end of the British Raj, leading to the recognition of three sub-regions. The first one is the Republic of India, the world's second largest country in total population, has a dominant role within the regions. Second, Bangladesh and Pakistan, which are two Muslim countries resulting from the breakup of the original Pakistan in 1971. And the mountain and island rim comprising Afghanistan, Nepal and Bhutan in the mountainous north, and Sri Lanka and the Maldives in the island south, includes a group of small countries on the margins of South Asia. In 2010, the Republic of India populations of 1,189 million was second only to China, but its total GDP (PPP) in 2010 placed it fourth in the world after the United States, China, and Japan. Forecasts expect India population to have a growing working age groups in contrast to most other countries, and its economic growth to continue at a high rate, possibly eclipsing other major emerging countries such as Brazil and Russia. Completing the 60 years of independence in 2007, India remains the world's largest democracy. The combinations of population size and productive potential continues to make India a regionally dominant presence. India's increasing significance is a product of its history. Although it has limited resources to underwrite change, India has an expansive vision of its future. It has a mixture of high-tech and basic manufacturing, military resources of modest technological sophistications, and linked to other development countries. India became an independent country in 1947 as a republic with a federal union government. Many of its institutions have a Western flavor. The upper house of the union government is formed of state-nominated representatives. The lower house, or People's Assembly, is directly elected from India-wide constituencies. The former princely state and British Indian province were admitted as state within the India Federations. There are 29 states and 6 union territories, each with its own elected assemblies. The states' governors are appointed centrally to represent the unions. State boundaries are largely linguistic, reflecting the huge range of languages spoken in the countries. The state's role in the administrations, law and orders, education and welfare, and economic development are supported by local tax and grants from the central government. Each state is divided into village-based administrative units. The number of states increased after independence, mainly as the result of the original states not coping with the interests of ethnic groups. In 2010, India's total GDP (PPP) was fourth in the world. Although Indians living below the international poverty line fell from 60% in 1982 to 42% in 2005, many Indians remain very poor, tied to traditional low productivity farming and the informal sectors in cities. Part of India's economy are expanding. In the early 2000s, India's broadening outlook towards global trade include increased private investments to and from the United States, increased involvement in Europe, and trading and investment agreements with Japan and China. The Indian government scraps many export restrictions, expecting to double its sales abroad by 2007 and favoring agriculture products and computer hardware. It also abolished price controls on the telecommunications and oil refining industries, apart from the subsidies for cooking gas and oil. India remains deficient in transportation infrastructure. Its railroad system has a major role but needs updating to compete with the gradual improvement of roads and efficiency the private airlines. The economic profile is moving from a farm base to factories and office. Between 1965 and 2002, farming decreased its contributions to GDP from 44 to 23% without causing famines. Industry rose from 22 to 29% but then declined a little as service rose from 34 to 51%. According to the International Monetary Fund (IMF), the Indian economy in 2009 was nominally worth 2.6 trillion. It is the fifth largest economy by market exchange rate and is around 11 trillion, the third largest by purchasing power parity. India is one of the world's fastest growing economies. However, the country is ranked 139 in the world in nominal GDP per capita and 118 in GDP per capita at PPP. Okay, let's check it out, the three economic activities in India. This is examples of economic activities in India. Look at the first one is mining industry. The company of Coal India Limited. This company is an Indian public sector coal mining and refining company which is headquartered in Kolkata. It is the largest coal producing company in the world and a Maharatna public sector undertakings. The company contributes around 82% to the total coal productions in India. The second is manufacturing industry. Tata Motors Limited is an Indian multinational automotive manufacturing company. The headquarters in Mumbai, Maharashtra, India. It is a part of Tata Group, an Indian conglomerate. Its products include passenger cars, trucks, vans, coach, bus, sports cars, construction equipment, and military vehicles. The Nano is considered the world's cheapest car with a launch price of 1 lakh rupees or around Rm 5,800 in the year 2008. And the last one is service industry. The name of company is Wipro Limited. This company is an Indian multinational corporation that provide information technologies, consulting, and business process service. It is headquartered in Karnataka, India. In 2013, Wipro separates its non-IT business and forms the privately owned Wipro Enterprise. Azim Premji, the chairman of Wipro Limited, took over the company at the age of 21 after the sudden death of his father. Okay, that's the three examples economics in India. So I pass to my friend for the next three economic activities of other sub-regions.
Hi, for sub-region, for Bangladesh and Pakistan, a 5.2 is this here is a Bangladesh flag, map of Bangladesh. Okay, and there is a three economic activity in Bangladesh. First is the service industry. Name of company is Grameen Bank. Look, the location is at the Dhaka, Bangladesh. Product banking service. Additional information: Grameen Bank in Bangladesh has lent more than 2 billion to more than 2 million villagers. Most of them women. The average loan is less than $100. For three economic activities in Bangladesh is point number 2 is a mining industry. Name of company is Petro Bangla, Bangladesh Oil and Gas and Mineral Corporation. Location Kauran Bazar, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Product oil, gas and material. Additional information is the blue and red in the logo signifies the energy emanation from gas and oil, while the overall circle signifies the integration of the whole business. The stylist letter P and B signifies Petro Bangla. You can see the logo of the company and the platform oil platform in Dhaka, Bangladesh. For third is agriculture industry. Agriculture is an important sector of the economy of Bangladesh and one of the main drivers of economic growth. Over 40% of the Bangladeshi is engaged with farming. The main product is jute, rice, tea and sugarcane. Additional information, the crop that is grown from December to January is called Haman. Boro is sown in the month of March and is cultivated in May. Similarly, the crop cultivated in July to August is known as Aus. Here we can see is a map showing the growing areas of major agriculture product. Here is Muhammad Yunus, as a founder, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. In 1974, Professor Muhammad Yunus developed a concept of microcredit, making small loans to individuals and groups to enable them to start business. He lent $25 of his own money to 42 basket weavers and found they could then put themselves out of extreme poverty. In 1983, he founded the Grameen Bank. Controversially, women were allowed equal access to the loans and here you can see it's a Pakistan flag and map of Pakistan. Three economic activity in Pakistan. First is agriculture industry. Cotton production in Pakistan is integral to the economic development of the country. Location, cotton is grown mostly in the two provinces of Punjab and Sindh. Name of company, Apna Glove Limited. Cotton, leaf, curl virus, which is plant, pathogenic virus, tar plant grows seriously affecting yield. Heavy rain and poor crops in some years have caused farmers to question whether they should grow different crops. Crops such as wheat, rice and sugarcane grown as alternative to cotton. Here is the earliest period of cotton production, and here is a map showing the growing areas of major agriculture products. For second is manufacturing industry. Product is a chemical, caustic soda, liquid chloride, hydrochloric acid, sodium hypochlorite. Name of company, Etihad Chemical Limited. Location, Lahore, Pakistan. Additional information, Muhammad Siddiq. Country is the main chairman at Etihad Chemical Limited. For second is for the economic activity in Pakistan is a mining industry. We can see here is a logo of the company. Name of the company is a Pakistan Petroleum Limited. Location is Karachi, Sindh Province, Pakistan. Product oil and gas. Additional information, Pakistan Petroleum Limited, Pakistani stated owned petroleum company, is what incorporated on 5 June 1950.
5.3, we have mountain and island rim. This is list of countries in mountain and island rim. For mountain countries, we have Nepal, Bhutan and Afghanistan. For island rim countries, we have Sri Lanka and This is 3 mountain countries. is Nepal, Bhutan and Afghanistan. This is list of countries in mountain and island rim. For mountain countries, we have Nepal, Bhutan and Afghanistan. For island rim countries, we have Sri Lanka and Maldives. This is 3 countries. This is Nepal, Bhutan and Afghanistan. Here is the map of Nepal and their Nepal flag. This is Bhutan flag and map of Bhutan. This is 3 mountain countries. This is Nepal, Bhutan and Afghanistan. Here is the map of Nepal and their Nepal flag. This is Bhutan flag and map of Bhutan. Here is map of Afghanistan. Here is the map of Nepal and their Nepal flag. This is Bhutan flag and map of Bhutan. Here is map of Afghanistan and there is Afghanistan flag. Of Nepal and their Nepal flag. This is Bhutan flag and map of Bhutan. Here is map of Afghanistan and there is Afghanistan flag. For island rim countries, we have Sri Lanka of Bhutan. Here is map of Afghanistan and there is Afghanistan flag. For island rim countries, we have Sri Lanka and Maldives. Here is the map of Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka flag. And there is Afghanistan flag. For island rim countries, we have Sri Lanka and Maldives. Here is the map of Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka flag. And last is for map of Maldives and the Maldives flag. For island rim countries, we have Sri Lanka and Maldives. Here is the map of Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka flag. And last is for map of Maldives and the Maldives flag. 3 economic activities in mountain and island rim countries. First, there have agriculture in Sri Lanka and Maldives. Here is the map of Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka flag. And last is for map of Maldives and the Maldives flag. 3 economic activities in mountain and island rim countries. First, there have agriculture industry. In Afghanistan, 85% of the people are engaged in agriculture. stars is for map of Maldives and the Maldives flag. 3 economic activities in mountain and island rim countries. First, they have agriculture industry. In Afghanistan, 85% of the people are engaged in agriculture. Major crops cultivated in Afghanistan are cotton, wheat, livestock and horticulture, fruits and nuts. The North region from Takhar to Bagdish and Herat and Helmand province produce cotton. Wheat is common to several regions and make up 80% of all grain production. In the 1970s, Afghanistan was one of the world's largest export of resin. It is estimated that income from horticulture product is 3 to 7 times higher than from wheat. Second, they have service industry. Tourism is the spot of resin. It is estimated that income from horticulture product is 3 to 7 times higher than from wheat. Second, they have service industry. Tourism is the largest economic industry in Maldives. Name of company, Maldives Association of Travel Agent and Tour Operation, MATATO. The product is tourism. Tourist. Location, Mel City at Maldives. Additional information, the country itself is named after its capital city, which is Mel. In fact, the word Maldives means the island dive of Mel. Third, they have manufacturing industrial. The product is tourism. Tourist. Location, Mel City at Maldives. Additional information, the country itself is named after its capital city, which is Mel. In fact, the word Maldives means the island dive of Mel. Third, they have manufacturing industrial. Product is concrete block and tiles. Name of company, Bajra Bricks and Tile Industry Private Limited. Location, company is at Yatu Mahadivstan, Bhaktapur, Kathmandu. Additional info, founded by Bikram Prajapati along with his partner Gokul Prajapati in December 2014. That's all for the presentation for South Asia. Thank you.